It does not look good. What's happening?
Daniel,
Mm-hmm.
the Daniels.
Hi, hello.
Is it like Bennifer now? Are y'all about it, or is it like you're over it?
We've been working together for 12, 13 years now.
Uh-huh.
And when we started, we thought it was a funny name to like, oh, we're both named Daniel. Let's call ourselves Daniels. That's, that, we'll never have to live with that for the next decade. And now, it's on every movie poster, and I feel bad for all the other Daniels in the world.
Okay.
We don't want it to be a monopoly.
Whenever we meet one, they seem a little mad.
Congratulations. Leading nominations. Like, do you really just walk in here like, yeah, this is like we did that?
Absolutely, yeah. I've totally absorbed it. If full on doesn't, I forget it is true. Like,
Yeah.
I'll be talking to like a family member and they'll bring it up and I'll be like, wait. That's real now?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Especially walking around today in this environment, you're just surrounded by all these incredible filmmakers that, many people we grew up on, many people that we...
Roger Deakins is outside the door
literally,
right
Roger
now.
Deakins right there.
He was sitting
I'm
in
a
that
bad
chair.
listener right
He
now.
was sitting in this chair.
He was sitting in that chair.
He's been sitting on this
Feels
chair.
like he was in it.
Nobody except for you.
Oh, I'm the first. Okay. That's good. It feels good
You're
to
the
be
first?
Yeah, okay.
Oh wow, I got the Deakins chair.
But really, it is surreal. We've been saying this whole time that the fact that we even got to make the movie was enough. That was all we cared for, because even that felt impossible. But yesterday I was talking to Michelle, and she was so just happy and light in a way that I haven't seen her in a while. And she says, the fact that we got this far is already a win. Let's just have fun. And I was like, okay, if Michelle Yeoh says I can have fun now, I'll take that to heart.
Dangerous.
Yeah, exactly.
She is really having fun. I saw you guys on the night of the Critics' Choice. You guys really look like y'all are just enjoying the time. That was a night where I think everybody enjoyed the time.
Oh, yeah.
Our table was special. We had a lot of our crew that night because the Critics' Choice nominated a lot of crew departments, and that was extra special because it's so rare that they're a part of all this, and the fact that we got to I was sitting next to my VFX supervisor, and he was in the background of every time they would cut to Bob Odenkirk, it would be Zach behind him, and I was like, this is very fun.
Oh man, that's so great. For you guys along this journey, what has been the most special part?
I think the thing that has really sustained us this year is the fact that we get to go to these Q&As, and every time we're a little exhausted, and I can't believe we have to talk in front of another crowd, but by the end of it, it's really reinvigorating, because we have these wonderful audience members who have fallen in love with the movie. Some of them have told us they've seen it 13 times. That's more times than I think I've seen it.
Not true.
Well, the finished cut, yes,
Right.
for sure. The finished
Rough
cut.
cuts, oh my God.
And they tell us their story, and they tell us who they brought to the movie and how it's changed their life in different ways. And it's the kind of thing that you only dream of as a filmmaker, that you could have this kind of impact on even one person's life. And so to be able to go to all these screenings and have different stories repeating very similar narratives is incredibly moving. And also, I do think it's putting a lot of pressure, a lot of good pressure on our shoulders, just to remind ourselves that filmmaking is very powerful. It can be used for good, and we are in a very unique position now where, we don't want to waste this opportunity.
Yeah.
And also that the movie is bigger than us.
Yeah.
That this recognition validates their stories.
Yes.
In a way that is a nice reminder.
Yeah.
Yeah, whether it's Asian American families, immigrant families, people who are not neurotypical in their mind, ADHD, depression, anxiety,
Like to get spanked.
We've gotten all the stories. People also just Hong Kong action nerds. It's just the whole spectrum of people who have come to us and said thank you for the movie for different reasons. We tried to make a movie about everything, and we didn't succeed because that's impossible. But
we got a couple things in there.
pretty
Pretty
close. We got pretty close.
Tomorrow, all of America will be talking about Elvis Presley.
President, try not to move around so much during the takes.
Mandy, let's keep it real.
Yeah.
Making history as the third ever female cinematographer.
Yes.
I will say, making him look good on screen was hard work, right?
No, not very hard. And you know what? He's such a great collaborator and generous with the camera being, you know, coming from 50 foot away straight into his face and being very calm and not even flinching. You know, it was just such a dream to be able to. We said we danced with Austin on stage with the camera, it's such a dream.
Talk about the look of it. So I'm definitely going to start with you, Catherine. And then again, just the incredible look of Elvis.
Well, thank you. And that is because I'm part of an incredible team. And it starts with the boss. Who,
no one ever calls me the boss.
yes,
team leader.
Gracie does.
The Gracie does.
Gracie does. No, the team leader who puts an emphasis on the visual story telling aspect of filmmaking. So what's great about being one of his collaborators is that you get focus and care and respect and time to do your best work and encouragement to do your best work. So Baz also provides an atmosphere where he pushes you to do the things that you find the scariest, the things that are beyond your comfort zone, beyond what you think you're capable of. And then if you fail, there's no shame, which I think really makes you a better artist in the long term. So, yes, it's the great joy of working with the team who are sitting here and our extended team who, you know, are back in Australia, is this feeling of satisfaction that as a group we've managed to fulfill the ambition of telling this big universal story that encompasses really difficult historical periods in history, in American history, very ugly periods, and at the same time deals with subjects that are still really potent today, the idea of art and commerce, of the exploitation of the artist, and the complicated relationships that artists have with their managers, and in general, selling, and and the human coming together in a very uncomfortable mix.
Yeah. Baz, I do have to say to you, sir, of everything that you've done, I feel like little bits of your filmmaking are part of this film. Like almost like you kind of had to make all the films you had to make to make Elvis. Does it feel that way for you as a filmmaker?
There is no doubt that of all the films I've made, the journey of making this film and the film itself and then the life after the film, there will be no road like this again. It's a once-in-a-lifetime experience, and everything I've ever done has been put into it. But also, just to begin with, I mean, we started with a fire, and then a flood, and then a pandemic, and then Austin refusing to leave when the pandemic came, when the film was over, and saying, "I'm not leaving. I am not leaving." There's a roll of a light, and he just kept working, and then Tom coming back. Then we shoot. We get the film done, and then this, can we get older audiences in? Can we get younger audiences in? Then they come, then the film just lives on, and it grows. And of course, the very personal journey we've gone on with the Presley family, which is just, unimaginable. And there's been so much beauty and so much emotion. Yes, it's indelible. I'll never forget this particular one.
What has been the most sort of like uncanny valley, bizarrest part of this whole season for each one of you? And I'll give you all a quick hit.
Well, I mean, by the very nature of it, it's uncanny and bizarre. You never want to disrespect it because, it's like, I like saying it's at a wedding, you're the bride, but it never stops, right? But then again, you could have been left at the altar. So, they're the choices. I'll take the long wedding anytime. So that's the great thing. I call it the chicken dinner circuit. But I have to tell you, with great respect, but there is no level of zaniness that won't come with it, and yet it's a lot of great things. But the strange thing about it is you dress up, you go out, you're celebrated, you see your other, but at the end of the day you go like, I'm dressing up, I'm celebrating, I'm seeing other people. It goes round and round and round and round. So.
It's like a whirlwind, but also just to be with us as a group all being nominated is just really the icing on the cake, and that we're all celebrating together, and we made an amazing film and being recognised for it, and I'm just really proud.
We have a problem.
I received another weird email.
There's no reason to get caught up in any intrigue.
I'm worried.
Now that the film has been out in the world, are you marveled at how many different ways people approach it and what they take as they see it? Because it really has become this other thing to so many different people in different ways.
Yes. Yeah, no, certainly. I mean, we were hoping that people would engage with it and have very strong opinions about their own interpretation of it, but the manner in which the conversation has amplified is not something we would have ever imagined. I mean, it's fairly extraordinary, you know. It's like every week there's an opinion piece on this film, and that's not something that you would ever contemplate.
Both you and Kate, as you guys have been talking, and Nina and everyone, Natalie, that have been involved in the film, did you both have the same approach to the character from those first early conversations, or was she one of those people when you first started talking to her about it, where she maybe had a different interpretation?
No, I think we both had a very good picture of who Lydia Tarr was. And I think we had the same aim in terms of trying to make something that allowed room for the viewer. It is that strange thing because you do have to let it go completely because that's why you made it, for good or for ill, you know. And even though you want the conversation to be loud and noisy and diverse and dynamic, at the same time, there's that part of you that feels really protective over the thing that you made. And I think that's that way for, you know, all filmmakers. So.
Yeah. What do you think about that aspect of the fandom of Lydia Tarr? Because there's people like treating her real, like it's almost like Miss Pittman, like the Legend of Pittman.
Yeah, no, I know. I mean, that's a testament to Kate Blanchett and her art. You know, when we were off in Scotland, my editor Monica Willey and I, we would walk every morning, and we did this for months, 7-day weeks, and really within the first 2 weeks, we no longer referred to her as Kate. It was Lydia Tarr, and it felt as if we were, you know, cutting a documentary. And then it was the question, which is, you know, how fair should we be to this person who was a very real person to us or not? And that's a testament to her art and her magnificent, you know, ability as a performer.
I think the best thing about it is the music and the fact that Hildur has become this like great Lydia Tarr avatar because of how much she created what Lydia did. Talk about working with her for not only helping you create who Lydia Tarr was in the sense of underscoring her actions on screen, but also really fleshing out the character a little bit with Kate.
Well, I mean, Hildur and I started our work together in Berlin as soon as I got on the ground. Actually, she's the first person that I started to work with, and we worked together for 14 months. So that's not very typical when you work with a composer, especially for a movie where most of the music is canonical work and was already in the script. And Hildur's not underscoring. She's trying to disappear. It's the most modest sort of approach for an artist, and yet it's so deeply embedded in the material. You know, there's 40 minutes of Hildur's compositions that you feel in the mix, but hopefully you don't hear. And that was a conscious effort on both of our part, because if you have a character that's making music on screen, it would be absurd to underscore their life. So that was a really interesting way to work with her, but also because she asked incredible questions. You know, she would say, you know, what is her internal rhythm? How does she move? You know, you don't normally have conversations like that with people, you know, and I'd say, what do you mean? She said, well, what kind of music were you listening to when you're writing the script? And I was like, okay, well, there's just one piece. It's 120 beats a minute. She's like, okay, well, then she's 120 beats a minute. So she brought in a whole group of players to create music that you will never hear on screen, just to put into Kate's ear so that when she's walking, it's always, this is her gait, always. Or if you watch Sophie Kauer, who plays the young cellist, Olga Makina, 60. And it's not something that the audience should ever be aware of, but it does something to you. And in that way, very much the way Wagner used to score, he used to underscore, which is, it was very, very pointillistic way to work. And it's just an incredible experience to work with an artist like that.
Here's to the future.
Walking those old scenes.
Here's to getting back up. And here's to coming home.
With Empire of Light, in particular, collaborations with Sam. What were your first conversations with him? Because I think a lot of people going into it didn't know how much it spoke to his own history.
Yeah, obviously I knew it was very personal to him. I mean, we started talking about it like we had other projects. You know, we just had long conversations about the script and the arc of the script and, you know, what maybe didn't need to be there, things like that. You know, and then gradually kind of started talking about the look of it, how we should shoot it. So, you know, with any film, it's kind of like a bit of an evolving conversation you have over time.
One of the things I loved about Empire of Light is there's a great moment with Toby Jones where he really speaks to the beauty of moving motion pictures and to the cameras and to the lights and the magic of the projection room. Is that the reason why you decided to sort of do the photography book? Is it that you sort of looking at your work with moving motion pictures and sort of having that same sort of like, this is why we do it? Or was it really, you know, just...
Another book?
Yeah.
Byways?
Yeah.
No, I mean, my whole life, on and off, I've taken still photographs, but I just take photographs of things that kind of interest me, things that catch my eye. So, you know, during the pandemic, my wife James and I thought, well, it's about a good time to see if we can get a book published, you know. I've taken more photographs since, and now I wish I'd delayed it, maybe, because I'd like to, maybe I'll do another book. But I just take photos, nothing to do with my film world at all.
Really?
Yeah, no, they're just very personal photographs I take when I just go walking, exploring, you know.
The journey in your introduction, you talked about this was part of your early days, even before you were working on film sets, I guess back in Devon. Like, talk about this journey with you in photography and I guess, you know, those first early days working with it.
Well, I started off, I wanted to be a painter, like everybody does if they don't know what they want to do, really. And I went to art college, avoiding work. And I discovered photography. I met there a photographer called Roger Main, a street photographer, who was one of the first street photographers actually in the 50s in London. And he inspired me to start going out and taking still photographs. And then that just developed. I was taking very naturalistic photographs. So then I thought, when the National Film School in England opened, I thought, well, maybe I should think about documentaries, you know, making documentaries, so my photographs could talk, basically. And, you know, so one thing led to another, and here I am.